All right. We have a very interesting conversation planned for today. Bobby Powell runs a conservative Christian news program out of northern Michigan called The Truth is Viral. He's here today with Alice L. Maher, the founder and director of Changing Our Consciousness. Changing Our Consciousness runs the Dialogue with Dignity project, which is all about figuring out how we communicate across divides, whether they are political divides, religious divides, or all of the above. And while we record these conversations, the idea is really not to talk to the audience, but to actually talk to one another and see what happens. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's why we're inviting people to participate on Facebook afterward. And then we'll have these two meet up again in a few weeks. So we're going to try this a couple of times. And if you want to take part in the Facebook discussion, you can go to Facebook/groups/dialogue with dignity. There will be a link in the description of this video as well. Somewhere in this messy process of human interaction is a science to be discovered, and we are here to conduct the experiment. So with that, I will let the two participants in today's dialogue introduce themselves properly. Whoever would like to start, go for it.
Alice, ladies first.
Okay. Let's see. I've been a psychiatrist and psychoanalyst in private practice in New York City, Manhattan, for over 40 years. And during the course of that time, I've come to see that the individual issues that I've been working with for so long, internal conflict, defense, fantasy, relationship issues, psychosis, it's writ large on the world stage. Uncle Sam, if there is such a still thing, if people still talk about Uncle Sam, has a serious psychiatric problem. And so I've been trying to find ways for us to look at what is causing the rift in our society. And I think it has much to do with the fact that we cannot talk to each other. We are very quick to insult, ridicule, cancel, delete, unfriend, ghost. If I don't like you, then you're bad and you should go away. And I'm trying to do various projects designed to repair that. So that's basically me. It'd be interesting to tell the story of how we met.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and do that. We've got a mutual friend on Facebook. His name is Michael. And Michael was engaging with these folks, and you know me, well, you don't know me. That's kind of why I'm here. But I just can't keep my mouth shut. Okay, so I engaged and was immediately shot down. It was kind of funny in a way. And so, Alice posted on her Facebook page yesterday a couple of questions, and I thought that I would answer them as a way of letting you guys get to know me. So anyway, like I said, my name is Bob Powell. Folks call me Bobby. I don't know why, it just kind of stuck and I kept with it. I publish a conservative Christian news program in northern Michigan called The Truth is Viral. And Alice had posted, many of my friends on the left are likely to be appalled that I'm doing this because I'm giving you airtime rather than reporting and deleting you. They're thinking that you must be a racist and a white supremacist and that people like you should not be given a voice. What's your response to that? Well, first off, they need to know that I've been a journalist for over 30 years. And The Truth is Viral is the #1 news program north of Flint with 10 times the viewership of the legacy network news programs. Between my show and it airing on the internet and it airing on the radio, more than 23 million people have watched since 2015. So Alice is not giving me a voice, okay? I've already got one.
I'm giving you a voice on my...
Oh, okay, I see.
My people.
Well, and for that, I appreciate it. I thank you very much, because this is one of the things that I want to solve, because I think that I have some valid viewpoints, and I would like to get them across to folks on that oppose me politically without the conversation devolving into insults and disparagement and accusations of racism or terrorism. In my case, you know, I was at the Capitol on January 6th. People have called me the most horrible things, but they didn't see me. They didn't bother to check, even though I posted the video to them and said, look at this, go over here and look at this. I said, I was defending the Capitol. Alice, you've seen the video.
Mhm.
After those Capitol Hill police officers left that window undefended, I stood in the way. Okay, so don't call me a terrorist or a seditionist. You don't know me. And then what bothers me the most is nobody cares to check.
Mhm.
You know, they want to cancel me because I'm a white conservative Christian male. I can't possibly be anything more than the living embodiment of toxic masculinity, the patriarchy, right? The hateful racist, misogynist, a bigot that sees other human beings as somehow less than human. That's because they are ignorant. Okay, that's not a bad word. They know nothing of the subject matter that they're speaking about. I'm sorry, I ended it with a preposition. Okay, but you know, if they want to take away my voice, then they're going to have to take away the voice of the Sioux living at the Standing Rock Reservation, because my voice was theirs as they fought off corporate mercenaries who attacked women and children with dogs.
Mhm.
I've provided Alice with all these videos that I'm going to talk about right now. They would also be denying justice to a 16-year-old Muslim American child, Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki, who was murdered by Barack Obama when he used his pen and phone to order the CIA to kill him without ever charging that innocent child with a crime or seeking congressional oversight or judicial review. Now, the crime was so heinous that I interviewed ACLU attorney Nate Wessler, that he sued Obama. He stated on my show, on the record, I've got the video and the audio, you can listen to it. He said that the Obama administration was lawless. He said that the president and that those working for him, like Joe Biden, had taken on the duties of judge, jury, and executioner. Now, for those that are unfamiliar with the Federalist Papers, James Madison defined those words, those very words, as the very definition of tyranny. That article and that interview was picked up by CNN, by the way.
So what are you saying about Obama as
Well,
opposed to, say, a conservative president?
Well, it's really not about him being a liberal, okay? It's about him breaking the law and nobody caring. I'm the only voice that this child has had for 9 years. Nobody cares about him anymore. Obama was great because he killed Anwar al-Awlaki without charges, far away from a battlefield, totally illegally with his pen and phone. It didn't even take anything to the FISA court. He just ordered the CIA to murder an American citizen who was not engaged in combat. Okay, but he was a terrorist, I'll agree. Okay, he had it coming to him. But his 16-year-old son, who was killed 2 weeks after, did not. He was an innocent child, and nobody gives a damn.
I
And that
agree,
upsets me.
but mistakes are made, and yeah, when we fight wars, things happen, and
Alice, it wasn't on a battlefield.
and
It
I
was
know
a premeditated drone strike.
drone strikes are a whole other thing. Yeah, I know people who have kids in the military who are learning to fight drones from the safety of some military base out in the States, and they kill people, and that is a problem. There's no doubt about it. But I think that's an issue that the left and the right could argue in different ways in different circumstances.
Right.
We kill each other. We're killing species.
We are killing species. And we've got instincts and emotions, and we've got intellect too that has to take over, because we cannot let our emotions run wild. The result would be massive bloodshed. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to stop. Okay, but these people that are judging me just by the color of my skin or by the color of a hat that I wear, They need to understand that when they're canceling me, they're canceling 264 victims of sexual rape and sexual assault and rape that has been committed by members of Congress and the Senate since 1997. Okay, last week I announced that I would be running for Congress in Michigan's 1st district, opposing Republican Jack Bergman, because I told him about these crimes and cover-ups 3 years ago. And he told me on the record that names should be named and the offenders should return the tax money that were paid to the victims to the United States Treasury, and replace the award given to the victims from the offenders' personal funds and not our tax dollars. Okay, now Bergman's afraid of those powerful people that are named in these secret reports held by the ethics committees in both chambers. I'm not. Okay, he's got to be replaced. And in some of these friends that you got, Alice, doggone it, you know, I've proven, at least to you, I hope, that I've stood up for African Americans. I have stood up for Native Americans. I've stood up for Muslim Americans. Anybody of any color, race, religion, or lack thereof. I don't care. If people are being oppressed, somebody's got to look out for them. And I do this, you know, from a Christian point of view, because I think that, you know, God is our Father. Yes. Matt, did you say something? Oh, I got a feedback. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I'll just take off my headphone. Okay. So anyway, you know, God's our Father, and each one of us are our brothers and sisters. You know, when I was in the Corps, it was drilled into my head that regardless of our race, religious practices, or sex, we're all equally worthless. Fortunately, God's voice is louder than that. And, you know, I believe that we're all brothers and sisters. It doesn't make any difference what color we are. It doesn't make any difference if we're gay or straight. It doesn't make any difference what religion we practice. God loves all of us. Okay. And in his word, he's commanded us to take care of the lost and the sick and the needy. He said it in Psalm 82:3-4. Give justice to the weak and the fatherless, maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute, rescue the weak and the needy, deliver them from the hand of the wicked. Okay, the mission statement of my show, getting down to brass tacks, is saving lives and winning souls for Jesus Christ in these very last days. Now, were I to approach someone with hate in my heart, I could not convince them to accept the salvation that's freely available for the asking. So no, I'm not a racist. I'm not a bigot in any way, shape, or form.
Do you believe in systemic racism?
No. Do you know why?
How do you see it? Tell me.
Okay, well, we've got Barack Obama, for example, elected to 2 terms as president of the United States with a vast majority of white votes. Okay. We've got Eric Holder and Valerie Jarrett and what was that okay, hold on a second, I've got this I got this list right here, and it's amazing. It's amazing. A list. A list of people, of African Americans and other minorities that have risen to the top of the American power structure. Colin Powell, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch. Okay, and
Absolutely.
And
but
so
the fact that you need a list, it says something to me in that there are so many people, I think, that just got stuck. Their families got stuck, generations got stuck because the education wasn't available to them, the financial opportunities weren't available to them. People looked away from them. People didn't want to hire them. That's a generational thing. And it's the young kids are stuck now in cycles where they can't escape. Some can. Some have the best parents, the best opportunities, the motivation. All the forces are right. Like you win the lottery. Okay, I got it all. I'm going to go become president. But a whole lot of them don't. And I think we need to respect that. That doesn't mean that we have to hire somebody who's less accomplished over somebody who is more accomplished. I'm not in any way suggesting that we should everything should be affirmative action. But just to be aware of the fact that they've been behind the eight ball for a long time, and we kind of haven't. Some of us have, just like some Black people become president, some white people, really struggle. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, well,
But
Alice, I'm gonna say that I don't believe that anybody is at a disadvantage because of the color of their skin or their faith or anything like that. And I'll tell you why. Anybody can be anything that they want to be. All they have to do is have the drive to make it happen. Dr. Ben Carson, the former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, grew up on the mean streets of Detroit. He had nothing, okay? He had a learning disability. That's what he had. And his mother, herself illiterate, knew how important it was for her husband or her son to acquire knowledge so that he could succeed in life. So she forced Dr. Carson to read, even though she couldn't read herself, and made believe that she was grading his papers, okay, to hide that fact from him. Okay, she made him overcome his learning disability. And because of how hard he worked at his studies, because he was blessed with a parent who understood how important his education was and made him work for it, Dr. Ben Carson became one of the world's foremost neurosurgeons and HUD secretary. But because he served in the Trump administration, a lifetime of service and dedication to the practice of medicine was canceled because he was seen as an Uncle Tom by the left. And, personally, here's an experience that I had when I was going to college in Detroit. Okay, I had a lot of jobs when I was going to college in Detroit. I had no white privilege that I'm aware of. I went to the bulk food store and bought beans and cheese by the bag. Okay, so and I worked my way through college doing several jobs, and one of them was providing security on 8 Mile at a drugstore. Okay, now this drugstore had a warehouse right next door that was filled with returnable bottles, 10 cents a piece. Okay, there's this kid lives behind the store. I had been friendly with him over the summer, and I thought I'd give him a chance to earn a little money. So I was going to pay him minimum wage to sort these bottles so that they could be returned to the manufacturer so we could get our deposits back. Okay, I offered him a good job at a good wage. Okay, back in the 80s, $2-3 an hour was something. Okay, now what did he choose to do? He chose to take the easy way out and threw these bags of returnable bottles over the fence so that he could try to return them to the store later. Okay, so he missed out on an entire summer's worth of work because he was lazy. It wasn't because he wasn't given the opportunity, because I gave it to him myself. All he had to do was put in a decent day's work, and he chose to steal and take the easy way out. It's a matter of honor. It's a matter of integrity. Okay, it doesn't have anything to do with hard surroundings.
But I think that's true of Black, white, green people.
Well, sure it is. Everybody, everybody's afflicted with the problem of being lazy, and it's not a racial issue. It's not a economical, social issue, because poor people can be honest.
That's true, and rich people can be lazy, and
they sure can, and they steal. Okay, it's an issue of personal integrity. Okay, and that's something that we've got to work on.
Societal issue. For example, the reason I'm a doctor is because I came in on the feminist wave. The year I started at medical school, they went from 10% women to 33% women. And I got in, and that 33%, I probably would not have gotten in on the 10%. And before that, I was, going to be a housewife or a nurse or a secretary or a nun or, a mother or one of those things. But then I got into college and it was like, wow, I can be a doctor. I'd like to see that happen with people who have been sort of not allowed in, for the same reasons. Black people, people of other, we can transition to gender, sexuality, other kinds of ways that we look down on them. I would like to have an opportunity for them to, that doesn't mean you have to have the drive, you have to have the intelligence, the ability in order to get through medical school, but you also have to have somebody say, hey, let's take more of these people because these people can do it just as much as other people can do it.
Okay, well, what's wrong with a merit-based system? Take the people with the highest test scores, no matter what their skin color, no matter what their religion, no matter how they identify sexually. How about we just go to a merit-based system on everything? I like that idea.
With tweaks, because I know a whole lot of people. I mean, I work with a very complex group of people who have different kinds of psychological dynamics, and sometimes they need a little help. It's not all merit-based when some of the forces, internal forces, external forces are against them, and sometimes a little bit of help can help them, leave a cycle of just sort of being stuck where their families were stuck and they were stuck. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think a lot of what we're saying is not mutually exclusive. It gets, our political system forces us there very quickly. Racism, I despise ism words. My friends will tell you that. They laugh at me when I say that, because they're so divisive so quickly. You're racist, you're sexist, or you're homophobia, you're Islamophobic. As soon as you say that, you're instantly on my side or against me. These are really nuanced ideas.
Well, think about the word, the suffix phobic. Okay, that's what I said at the beginning of this conversation. It's all about fear and ignorance. Okay, people don't educate themselves. Okay, and that's a problem. People, from a news person's perspective, people read the headlines and they make a decision based on that. Let me tell you something. Headlines are written by interns, and they take the most sensational fact that they can find and use that as their headline. Okay, so there's kind of a rule that the truth of a story, if it's in there at all, is buried somewhere beneath the 16th paragraph. And people in today's busy world, where you have to have a parent or two parents working two jobs apiece just to make a living, people don't have time to read the head below the headlines, or even the subheads, and the fact that what really happened that was buried deep in the story contradicts the headline. They don't know that, and they don't remember that, and that's a problem. So as a 30-year veteran of the news business, let me tell you, it sucks. These people are liars. All the television stations that you watch, all of the radio stations that you listen to, all of the newspapers that you read are owned by 6 corporations. There is no diversity of thought. Even Fox News is controlled opposition. The news business has been heading or shifting to the left for the last 40 years. And now it's just covering up for a communist coup. Okay, we'll not go into all that right now, but let's just suffice it to say that the legacy news media in the United States has a decidedly leftist spin to it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I watch Rachel Maddow when I get home at night. I think she's brilliant. I love her research, but she spins everything.
How'd that Konstantin Kalinnikov thing come out for her?
What do you
He
mean?
was shoving that thing down your throat for 3 years in this Trump-Russia thing that never amounted to anything, that actually saw 25 of the Justice Department's top FBI agents and administrators fired or demoted or in one case imprisoned for their actions. Okay, nothing ever came of that because nothing ever happened. It was just a lie from the beginning. And Rachel Maddow was one of the people that were perpetuating it. She lied to you for 3 years, Alice. Nothing that she ever said had Nothing happened. Nobody was ever arrested. Konstantin Klimnikov. That was over and over and over again. That was so funny because the name kind of has a lyrical sound to it. Okay. But nothing ever happened. How do you feel about being lied to for 3 years?
It's more, I don't think of it as lies because I listen as a psychiatrist. And I think people genuinely believe, or they need to believe, they're programmed to believe, for whatever reason. They need to say what they think they should be saying. A lie is like calling someone a racist. You know, it's a dividing line. You know, you're good or bad. You go to heaven or hell. You're a liar or you're honest. We're all we all see truth in a different way. It's a world full of truthiness and facts that we choose to see, and that Facebook and Twitter tells us to see because of their algorithms. And so we lose out on looking at both sides and weighing both sides and you know, adapting to the complexities, the dynamic complexities.
Oh yeah, you're right. And social media and technology in general is both a blessing and a curse. Okay, because it's a blessing because here we are, you're in New York, I'm in Northern Michigan, we're having this nice civil conversation, we're having a good time, right? So that's a blessing. Okay, now the curse part comes in when people get on Facebook or Twitter or you know, whatever, and say things that would normally get them punched in the face. Okay, it makes people brave. They'd say things online that they wouldn't dare say to another human being.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's because they know that what they're saying is wrong. Okay, so there are no consequences for saying anything on the internet anymore. Well, except for that, except for me, I'm kind of experiencing some consequences, and there's not a whole lot that I can do about it at the moment. But just for an example, you know, people are talking about a civil war. Okay, you've got your people talking heads on MSNBC on Rachel Maddow's show wanting to talk about making lists of conservatives, okay, and having some kind of truth and reconciliation commissions. How did that work out in South Africa? Okay, that didn't work out too well. It worked out pretty good for a couple of minutes, but now 65,000 South African farmers, white farmers, have been displaced from their farms and murdered. Okay, the communist government is taking all of their property away and displacing them and allowing basically unskilled laborers to just move into these farms and take everything over. But the problem is, okay, they're unskilled. Okay, just like communism failed in 1917, 1918, they brought in all these unskilled people. They could not run anything, tried to give, 5-year plans and all this, but it ultimately failed. People starved. Communism has never worked, and it's not working in South Africa now. These city dwellers, basically, these unskilled laborers, go out to the farms to take over the farms of the Boers. Okay, that's a famous chant that the ruling party has down there: "Kill the Boers, kill the Boers." Okay, now they killed the Boers. Okay, the white farmers are gone. Now nobody knows how to farm. They're starving in South Africa right now. Aside from the white farmer genocide, everybody is facing a food shortage. Okay, now this is what communism brings. It's happened time and time again. People say, well, we just didn't try it right the last time. We'll get it right this time. Communism has killed over 100 million people in the last 100 years. When do we stop trying to give it a chance?
Interesting, because the way the people on the left accuse you of being racist and anti-Semitic or white supremacist, it's what we hear is that we are Marxist, communist, evil for being Marxist and communist. It feels like the same slope. Like, wait a minute, maybe you don't believe in systemic racism. That doesn't mean that you're, Aryan nation and you're going to kill, and it's the same thing with us. I don't know where people get the slippery slope to being inevitably Marxist and communist and evil, controlling, taking away all autonomy. And
Well,
do you see
yeah,
it that way?
yes, I do. But you're aware of the boiling frog syndrome, right? Okay, well, this is what we're facing in America now with this creeping spread of socialism, and it's a boiling frog syndrome where the water gets hotter and hotter and hotter just a little bit at a time, and the frog doesn't jump out of the pot because he doesn't realize that he's burning to death. Okay, so I like to think of myself as a watchman. Okay, I've got to stop, nip it in the bud. Okay, to quote Barney Fife, nip it in the bud. We cannot allow socialism or communism to flourish in this country, and the left has gone that way. The squad is decidedly socialist. Okay.
Right. But then if you see us going in that direction, you can't step back and watch and say, oh my God, you're going in that direction, you're going to burn to death. You're, we need to take care of individual suffering people. People need health care. People, I mean, I don't care if it's a dreamer who's, a father came over from wherever for whatever reason. If a child is sick and needs health care, I'm going to want to take care of that child. I'm going to want to pay some tax money to take care of that child. If that's leading us down the slippery slope to, some evil Marxist, then how do we integrate that? How do we make sense out of the fact that we cannot let sick, starving children die while we're taking care of our own and being, patriots who are.
Okay, I understand what you mean. Let me answer your question. It's very simple. Okay. I don't think that anybody would have a problem with using our tax dollars to resolve an acute emergency. Say somebody was in an automobile accident or whatever, an illegal alien was in an automobile accident. I don't think anybody would deny them treatment on an acute basis. But after they're well enough, after they're released from the hospital, they need to go. Okay, and I'll tell you why. And Alice, you're familiar with this, and because I've shared this with you before. Now, my wife worked 2 and 3 jobs at a time for 35 years. And she got cancer in 2012 and died in 2015. Now, in 2015, in Michigan alone, $1 billion with a B was spent on illegal aliens to provide them with subsidized housing, with quote unquote free healthcare, and even free college for these so-called dreamers. Okay. Now, we applied for Obamacare's hospice program that would have brought in skilled medical care to attend to my wife in her last days. We were denied because the Obamacare program that paid for hospice was broke. Okay, so my wife died screaming so that an illegal alien could get a free quarter credit of a college hour. Tell me, how is that fair to my wife who worked her entire life, paid into the system with every check? And how is it fair to the other uncounted American citizens who were also denied benefits that they had worked and slaved for their entire lives, so that we could provide all this stuff for people whose first act in the United States was to commit a crime? Illegal aliens, they say illegal aliens pay taxes. Sure, they pay sales taxes. Okay, they do not pay income taxes. They can't. They're undocumented. If they're forced by their job to have a social security number or an EITN number, it's been stolen. So that's another crime that they are committing. Okay, these people don't have any respect for our rule of law. I'm sorry that somebody was brought here as a child and has lived here all of their life, and now that they're in college, okay, their citizenship status is in question. I'm sorry about that. You've had 20 years to resolve that. Don't put it on me. Don't put it on my family. Don't put it on my wife. Okay, that was unfair. That was totally unsatisfactory.
I agree with you. But don't you think that it's possible for people like us to get together and figure out ways to reform both the immigration system and the healthcare system? We spend so much energy attacking each other.
Yes, it's possible, but nobody wants to. You know, that's why I'm so eager for this conversation and to talk with you, Alice, because you let me get a damn word in edgewise, and you let me say my mind. Okay, and I don't have any hatred for anybody, but we've got to have some common sense. We have a limited amount of money. We have, and we just can't give it to everybody. We can't send $1 billion to Pakistan so that their transgender folks can figure out which bathroom to use. Okay, we're drowning. We're in a lifeboat, and we can't keep on giving and pulling people in, or everybody's going to drown. Nobody realizes this. We're now $30 trillion in debt. That is impossible to repay. I'm sure that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, with her economics degree, would disagree. But if you ask the Federal Reserve, there's no way we can repay that debt ever. The interest is going to crush us.
It is. I think it's possible to do. I mean, I spend my life trying to solve problems, resolve conflicts. Started out studying mathematics. If there are problems that can be solved. In science, there are problems that can be solved. So in politics, it doesn't seem like there are problems that can be solved. There are problems that people hold on to and wave flags about and attack each other about. But a model I like to use is, I have two eyes for a reason. There's two sides of my body for a reason. There's the left and a right. One is dominant and leading. I happen to be right-handed. But I need both sides. I have two eyes for a reason. If the right eye is programmed to see right, because that's how it's programmed. Left eye sees left. If they adapt to each other, you get clarity and perspective and depth perception, and you can walk. If the right eye argues that it's seeing truth and the left eye is stupid and crazy and bad, you're blind and you're tripping all over yourself. That's where I think we are now. That each side is arguing that the other side is wrong and stupid and crazy and isn't seeing accurately. And we can't adapt to each other. We can't see both sides of these problems and figure out a horizon and work there for our children.
Well, I agree 100%. And as a scientist, you should be able to appreciate this argument. Something that is getting people canceled left and right, denying them their soapbox, so to speak. It is this issue of transgenderism. Okay, now 150 years of developmental psychology, Freud and Erikson both say that children of a prepubescent age are incapable of thinking of themselves as a sexual being. Okay, and we just saw a Pantene commercial with two lesbian mothers that are now going to change or raise their 4-year-old gender fluid child. I'm sorry, but this is child abuse. 150 years of psychological or investigation in the workings of the human mind says that this is child abuse. There is no question that if you follow the science, this is child abuse. The American Academy of Pediatrics says that transgenderism is a mental disorder that merits treatment. Up until last year, the World Health Organization recognized transgenderism as a mental disorder. So did the DSM-5, by the way. Okay, now I agree that things are changing, but that doesn't mean that they're changing for the better. The science is being influenced by the politics, and that's wrong. And people in the scientific community have to stop it and stand up against this movement. Okay, you can't allow emotions to overrule facts.
I think politics is co-opting science in this arena because transgenderism is the new homosexuality. I mean, when I started back in the Stone Age, homosexuality was an illness. It was a disease. It was immoral. It was a sin, and it was a mental illness. And then something shifted, and it shifted quickly, maybe too quickly, where there was a moment in time when they took it out of the diagnostic manual, and it went from being a mental illness to a normal variant. And there was much chaos. AIDS came in. There were, is this a Darwinian moment when the defective people should be gone? They rose up, they came together, the people in the closet, out of the closet, said, we're here, we have a right to exist, we're as good as anybody else. And lo and behold, they are now married, they're adopting children. I work with a lot of them. They're exactly the same as heterosexual couples. The same.
Oh, I know some gay couples, and they fight just like everybody else.
There is no difference. There was 50 years ago major differences. Now, yeah, no. I think of transgender as a similar thing. Right now, half the people are looking at them like, oh, this is an illness, this is a disorder, these poor kids, it's not right. But the science shows that gender and sexuality is not linear. It may not even be on a linear spectrum. It's so multifaceted. I agree with you that we shouldn't jump in and say, the answer to your problem is that your kid is a girl in a boy's body or a boy in a girl's body. And here, wear these clothes, use these bathrooms, see this doctor, everything will be right. It's, there are genetic variants, but then there's the way kids are treated, whether they're traumatized, abused, raped, overly supported in one direction or another, peer pressures, school pressure. It's so multi-determined so quickly that you can't say that any particular child is destined to be a happy adult if they go in this path or that path. Now, what to do about it, I don't know. But except to honor these people's experience, that if you feel like you're in the wrong body, don't argue with them and say, God said you're not. Just honor their experience and then give them time to figure out.
I agree with that. People that suffer from gender dysphoria are just as human as everybody else. They deserve respect and all the civil rights that everybody else is entitled to. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But what I do have a problem with is, the fact that this agenda is being pushed on children so young. Okay, we're talking 3-4-year-old kids. Avery Jackson was only 4 years old when his parents started giving him hormones, and the I Am Jazz girl was given artificial hormones to stop her, or for him or her, what she ended up cut off his genitalia. Okay, that's an irreversible thing. Okay, now I've gone over the statistics. 81.7% of transgenders reported suicidal ideation in the 2015 transgender report. Okay, 43.8% of them actually attempted suicide in that year. Okay, that's prima facie evidence that these people are disturbed and they need treatment. Now, what is the problem? I'm not sure. I'm thinking that these are gay individuals that are having a problem accepting the fact that they are gay. Okay, they have feelings for a person of the same sex, and they wonder why. But they are wondering the wrong thing. And it's being encouraged by these psychiatrists that say that transgenderism is normal, like being gay. Maybe being gay is genetic. I don't know. Maybe Gaga is right. Maybe they're born that way. I don't care. Okay, but what I do care about is this agenda being pushed on children so young. If you're an adult and you want to cut your pee-pee off, baby, let your freak flag fly and wear a dress and woohoo. I don't care. But let the little babies alone. Let them grow up in accordance with natural childhood development. okay, without
Well,
pushing
if
your
their
social
natural
agenda on
childhood
them and
development-
totally screwing them up.
But if their natural childhood development is to feel different from their girlfriends who don't, maybe they don't want to play with dolls, maybe they want to, or maybe
Now,
they're
we used to
different.
call those tomboys.
You know, yeah. You can at least respect that children have different centers, different feeling states, different desires, different fantasies, different, and just honor it. I agree that we don't have to jump in and say, you know, God made you a girl, so you're stuck with it, or no, you can be a boy, let's go do. We don't want to do that prematurely because things will shift, different insights can emerge. Just give it time. Honor these kids' inner experience, and give them time to have it evolve, and not jump in and use a parental agenda or a political agenda or social agenda.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're talking about nature versus nurture. You're absolutely right. And what's affecting these child's experience are parents that are telling them that this is normal. It's a very simple thing. That is the problem. Parents are using their own social agenda to influence the life of their child in opposition to normal development. And that's just what it is. It's basically, I'm blaming the parents, because the parents are the ones that go out and get the doctors that sexually mutilate their children, give them hormones that delay and stop normal puberty. Okay, it's just insane. I can't believe that this is happening to our children.
Evaluations, because you're right. I don't feel comfortable making those kinds of choices. But if I see a child or an adolescent like that, I will just say, tell me about your experience. What's it like to be you? And start from there and help the kid figure out what it's like to be them, all the different forces that impinge on them from inside and outside, and help them arrive at a choice for themselves. And you know, listening to the other voices, but not obeying the other voices.
Right. Now, I agree with you totally. That's a wonderful idea. Ask them why they feel the way they do. Help them work through this process. Do you expect it to happen overnight?
No.
No, it's good. Therapy takes years. You know this, Alice. Okay, let them work through it, but let them take time. You don't need to give them hormones that's going to change the natural feeling of their body. This, you know, that's a scientific fact. The hormones affect your body. That is who you are. Okay, by giving a young child artificial hormones, you are changing artificially who they are. And then it also affects their feelings and emotions. Okay, so the simple act of giving them hormones changes them. It doesn't change their mind at first. It changes
a dialogue. One of these dialogue projects around this issue with people who come from different perspectives on it, and actually have them listen to each other. It's a fascinating, very alive problem. Yeah, and you know, I every time I do Zoom work with teachers, their screens are all, you know, their names and their pronouns.
And why is that important?
Do you want to be called he or they, or something else?
But let me. This is a big issue, and let me ask you a question. Why? The pronoun. Why do people make such a big deal out of it? What is a they anyway? Okay, there are two sexes, XX and XY. Okay, you've got genetic variants, like people that have Klinefelter syndrome that have an extra chromosome or whatever. But the thing is that those folks are universally sterile. Okay, so you know, it's just kind of nature's way of making, you know, correcting mistake, that making sure that it doesn't happen again. So but you know, then people get it in their heads that it's normal, and it's not. And it's reinforced by a leftist agenda that wants to destroy the family structure in the United States. You can go to Black Lives Matter's website this very moment and read their manifesto. It states that they want to destroy the nuclear family. They don't care about mothers and fathers living together. And you know what? That's a Marxist plot to destroy this country, and especially people of color. People of color suffer from this more than anybody else. Planned Parenthood was started by Margaret Sanger, a eugenicist who said that Black people were like weeds that needed to be exterminated. She started Planned Parenthood and put chapters in the big cities, in minority neighborhoods all over the country. Well, 53% of every Black child conceived is murdered in the womb. That's a freaking genocide. If you want to take a knee about something, for the love of God, take a knee for these babies. I mean, come on, give me a break.
That's a good topic. I would. It's actually something I wanted to bring up too. Abortion, which seems like it's impossible to resolve conflict. That I hear the side that says that it's a life, and it's a taking of a life, an innocent human life. A life that can be adopted, it can be, if you don't want it, fine. But it's the taking of a life. And then on the other side, I see the people that I work with who get pregnant for a variety of reasons that may or may not be something they wanted, they consciously, accidentally, and they just don't want that child growing in their bodies, and they don't see that it is the taking of a life. They see it as their bodies. It's a group of cells. It is not yet crystallized into a thinking, feeling, breathing human being, and it's okay to let it. Now, is there any way of resolving this problem, of coming together at all?
Well, I hope so, and I think of it like this. I'm a very pro-choice person. As a libertarian, I'm conservative, okay, but politically I'm a libertarian. So I get shit from the left and the right, by in equal measure. So yeah, that's the way that goes. And oh, I just lost my train of thought. Can you remind me what the question was again?
About abortion, but I wasn't sure where you're.
Okay, there was a certain aspect that I had in mind. See, folks, this is another idiosyncratic feature of Bobby Powell. Back in 1994, I was working for KVOR in Colorado Springs, and they were remodeling a bathroom. Some idiot knocked over a 5-gallon bucket of toluene diisocyanate and poisoned 38 people, including me. I lost my ability to read. I lost my ability to write. I lost my ability to basically do a lot of things. So, speak without a significant aphasia. It's taken me, oh God, almost 20 years to regain those abilities. And it's not, and every now and then I'll have something right on the tip of my tongue and I'll just lose it. Okay, but this brings up, if I can divert real quick, just for a second, it brings up again, you've got to have something inside you that's got that drive. Okay, now after I had it was Broca's area in the left hemisphere of my brain that had been damaged the most. Okay, now it took a while for my brain to rewire itself so that I could get back to doing what I needed to do. Okay, so I went back to college, and because I couldn't be on the air anymore, I was like stuttering like that. Yeah, that just wasn't working. So I went back to college and figured I'd be a nurse, because I was in that environment a lot, and I really respected what they did. I've always been about kind of helping people when I can. Okay, now I got my nursing degree, and I figured, hey, well, if I can be a nurse, I can be a doctor. So I went to the University of North Carolina, pre-med, and 6 months into it, I was trading my labor for rent at the house that I was living in, fell off it and broke my back. Okay. And it's taken 8 operations, hundreds of hours of physical therapy to get me out of a wheelchair, crushed 3 vertebrae. Okay. Doctor said I'd never walk again. I proved them wrong. Okay. This is, and I'm nothing special except that I have the desire not to be in a damned wheelchair. Okay. This isn't something that happened to me that was not fair. It was something that was out of my control. Okay. I could not control what happened to me, but I did what I had to do to get myself out of that situation. I was not lazy. It takes work to get out of a wheelchair and get back to walking and even running again.
Absolutely.
I've got news for you, folks. So it's a matter of dedication and a matter of personal drive. Okay, but getting back to abortion, a recent study in Florida showed that 95% of the abortions in 2018 were performed for reasons of convenience, not because of rape or incest or because of a mental defect of the mother or because of a defect of the child. 95% of those viable infants were killed. Okay. Now, as I said, now I'm back to my point. I remembered it. There are 4 choices, that a woman has. She can choose to, not have sex until she gets married and wants a child. Okay. That's a perfectly respectable decision. She can also choose to use any one of dozens of different types of birth control so that she doesn't get pregnant. Now, if she doesn't do that, or the birth control fails and she does get pregnant, well, then she still has some choices. She can continue on with the pregnancy if she doesn't want it, and adopt the child to a couple that does want the child. Okay, I wouldn't ever put a child into a home where they're not wanted, because that's just begging for child abuse. Okay, or the woman can take responsibility for her actions and choose to raise the child. Okay, again, we get to the issue of personal responsibility. You had sex, you knew that this was one of the possible consequences. Now deal with it without taking the life of an innocent life form. Okay, if there was bacteria discovered on Mars, it would be celebrated for weeks on the headlines as life. Okay, give me a break. We've got laws on the books right now that allow a child to be aborted right before it's born. Ralph Northam from West Virginia said that he would abort the child after it is born. What kind of a civilized society does that? That's infanticide. That's the kind of stuff that the Spartans did. Okay, that's unacceptable.
Would you get rid of Roe v. Wade and make it illegal?
Well, I would have to think about that. That's a serious question. I do think that nobody should be forced to raise a child that they don't want. Okay, and regardless of the reason or the circumstances, I just don't believe that they should be forced to. But there are other options short of aborting a viable fetus. Okay, I'm not familiar with the latest research because that's not one of the areas of my expertise, but I think that premature infants today can survive as young as 26 weeks. Isn't that right? Okay,
Absolutely.
so
my son was born at 28 weeks, 35 years ago.
Okay, so we're not talking about an unorganized clump of cells. We're talking about a viable life form, a human life, and it cannot be exterminated.
Yeah, I don't know the research, but I think there's probably less unwanted pregnancy and abortion because the advent of ultrasounds. You can see a heartbeat, within a few weeks of discovering that you're pregnant. And you look at that ultrasound and you see a little lima bean that's a baby. It used to be people called it fetal tissue, and they thought about Kleenex.
Right.
It was. And when you see it and you see the heartbeat, it does make a difference, and I think it's harder. but it's an issue. I have my own theory, which is kind of out there. But my theory is that Homo sapiens is a brilliant species, but it's a species that's one of the few that kills its own kind. And we just do. We argue with each other because we all do it differently. But we fight wars at the drop of a hat. The genocide, the child abuse, the prison abuse, the rape, and just if you don't like it, make it go. Even the virtual killing, the deleting, ghosting, unfriending, make it go away, canceling. It's a version of make it go away. And I think our species does that. And I think abortion is just one of many ways in which we do that. Maybe it's the female way. I don't think we can stop ourselves from doing that until we look at the bigger picture and think about why we kill each other at the drop of a hat.
Well, I'm not sure it's just the female way. I think it's just a human way.
It's a human way. It's a female body, so it becomes about women.
And again, it comes to being personally weak, okay? Because it takes effort to get along with other people. Yeah. It's a whole lot easier to just kick them out of your lives and say, see ya, okay? I don't need your drama. I don't need your bullshit, okay? So, bye, okay? So it's a lot easier to do that than it is to deal with somebody and come to some kind of an arrangement without coming to blows at the same time.
Right. I agree, but I don't know that I would say personally weak. I mean, we're all different. We have different personalities, different histories. We come by our craziness honestly.
That's for sure.
I'm not going to say I'm strong and you're weak, or because we are who we are. But I think as a species, we need to look at how it is that we kill each other, because we're not going to be able to come together to solve problems of war or climate change or the big picture unless we can stop just fighting with each other and spending so much energy in this these stalemates and these arguments. I'm delighted to be able to talk to you.
Well, you and me both. It's a delight for me. I don't want to say I consider myself intellectual, but I like to think. Okay, I like to have an introspective outlook on life. If you want to look at it that way, like how is what I'm doing affecting the people around me? Okay, because I've got this. It's kind of a half-baked idea, right? If each one of us put the welfare of every other person in the world in front of our own, okay? Think about it as crowdsourcing beauty, okay? And then you're not going to steal from your neighbor. You're not going to bang your neighbor's wife, okay? If you think about your neighbor before yourself, what happens? Okay, you do what's best for him. Okay, now if you're doing that, what else is happening at the same time? 8 billion people around this big blue earth are doing the exact same thing for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we need to do is develop a biblical mindset. Get back to the 10 commandments, okay? And let's not steal from one another. Let's not hate one another. Let's not kill one another. How about we do that? Okay, there's only 10 doggone rules. Let's follow those.
I think religion, it was born to help us do that, but then we wind up killing each other in the name of religion, which is a whole other
topic. Yeah, it sure is. Religion has killed more people in the history of the world than anything else. And that's why I say I'm not a religious person. Okay, I have a personal faith and relationship with Jesus Christ. Okay, I can't abide by a Catholic church that covers up the rape of children by moving priests from one parish to another. Okay, godly men do not do that. They punish sin. Okay, and it goes all the way up to the Pope. Okay, who is supposed to be the representative of Jesus Christ on earth, and he's covering up the rapes of children. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not down with that at all. Even my own, I grew up in the Baptist religion. And when my 24-year-old daughter died, I went to the pastor and asked him to do the service, and he said that he couldn't do it because she hadn't been saved. So I don't believe in that kind of stuff. So I left the Baptist religion and I said, I don't need to be labeled as this or that or anything. All I need is one thing. I need Jesus Christ. He is my savior. There is not a denomination on this earth that has it 100% right. You've got the Catholics, you've got the Protestants, and then you've got hundreds of subdivisions of each organization, and they all think that they're right. Well, honey, baby, I'm here to tell you, nobody has got it right yet, because we don't have the paradise on earth that we were promised, and we're all fighting against each other. And if we just did what Jesus Christ told us to do, is to love your neighbor, okay, and love God. He boiled the 10 commandments down to 2. He says, love God, with all your heart and soul, and love your neighbor. Okay. And that is the whole of the law, he said. It's very simple. How hard is it to do that? My God, it just boggles my mind.
I agree. I spent the first quarter century of my life as a religious Catholic and the second quarter century as a religious Freudian. And strangely enough, I see the interweaving of their models. I think they would be married and living happily ever after if they were in the 21st century. As I think Jesus did what Freud taught us. He went into the Roman Jewish world, and he basically said, stop counting your money and be nice to the poor people and the lepers. And that was it. I just like, be a good person. And when a good analyst does that, if you say something to a patient they don't want to hear, what you get is an emotional reaction where they'll either idealize you or they'll want to kill you. You say something to them they don't want to hear. It's like, oh, you're the best analyst in the world. I'm going to tell everyone, and I'm going to give you great reviews on Rate Your Doctor. Or they'll say, how dare you say that to me? You're out of here. I'm not coming back, and I'm not going to, and I think that's what Jesus did. He basically told us, or admonished us to think about each other in a different way. And he got the kind of transference resistance that Freud taught us you get. He's half idealized and half murdered. But we still, in the political world that we live in, we still have not resolved that. How do you be true to yourself, keep what you're rightfully entitled to, and take care of other people at the same time? Well,
I think it's basically, boils down to my philosophy in life. It's leave me alone and don't take my stuff. It's really as simple as that. And it applies to everybody else. Leave them alone and don't take their stuff either. Okay. If you want to do whatever, I don't care. I'm not even going to come up with a list. Do whatever you want, as long as it's not impinging on the rights of others. Okay. If you want to, if you want to have a sex change after you're 18 and grown up and all can think about it, knock yourself out. I don't care. But it's against science to think that these young children can have these sexual thoughts. And what we've got to do, okay, is place emotions, underneath, in empirical fact. Okay, nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings. At least none of the people that I know. I certainly don't. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but doggone it, I'm not going to deny what I know to be a scientific fact in order to perpetuate somebody's delusion. Okay, and I'm sorry if it hurts their feelings. I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not doing it with the intention of hurting your feelings, but facts are facts. There are 24 hours a day. The sky is blue on a sunny day. I mean, there are certain things that just cannot be denied. And one thing that can't be denied is a 3-year-old, 4-year-old child can't think of themselves as a sexual object.
Well, that's questionable, but That's for another topic.
Okay. We've had a great conversation. We've been going over an hour. This is fun, Alice. We should do this again.
Do it again. I think we tentatively said April 10th.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah. So how about we invite the audience? I'm going to share it on my YouTube channel and Facebook page.
Okay, and I will do the same as well.
And then anyone who watches it is free to join the Dialogue with Dignity Facebook page, where we will talk with them and hopefully get some new questions and some new ideas, and you know, go a little further in a couple weeks.
Okay, well,
real quick, just a reminder, that's facebook.com/groups/dialogue with dignity, no underscores or anything in Dialogue with Dignity, just one word.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Alice, for being on The Truth is Viral. And you guys go ahead and do your own out cues. My name is Bob Powell. Thanks for watching. As always, God bless, Semper Fi, and hoorah. I'll catch you later.